Amber here. Welcome back to my channel for yet another of my personal character information videos. If you're new here, hi! I'm pleased to make your acquaintance, and I hope you stick around. Now, as a warning to all, old and new, this character today is very much not nice. She is actively a villain, and the best way I summarize her is this. She is a sociopathic narcissist with a god complex who basically has no morals. Flat out. And no, you don't get it. I mean what I said. Vanessa is the most villainous of villains to be nice. The woman will use anything and everything that she can in order to further her goals. She doesn't care if those that she will use are children or adults, innocent or guilty. None of that matters to her. She will even abuse children if it will benefit her. But don't worry, I'm not going to get into detail about that part of her life. Vanessa Ancre, since I haven't said her full name yet, is an absolute bitch. And it all started when her and her family were attacked due to how they were dark elves. Well, humans, they hated that. They didn't like how dark their skin was. Their ears were weird. No one had golden eyes like that, etc. It caused a deep-rooted hatred for humans, and all she believed that they were good for is strictly as a puppet or a tool, especially in her goal to eliminate all of them. It ended up causing her to dive into alchemy, mana studies, and science. She didn't care how much she had to study, how much she had to learn. She was an elf. She had plenty of time to study, time she planned to use. Granted, time was really not a concern, as she ended up making a deal with the devil, quite literally. The deal they made was that her soul, along with the 4 people closest to her, would go to hell, in exchange for Vanessa's chances of death becoming a lot less likely for her. And by that I mean, if she was likely to have fate, so to speak, cause her death on November 23rd, 2027, it would be very, very, very unlikely for it to happen now. And no celestials could get in the way. No deities, no angels, no anything could get in the way. Now, Vanessa is a very intelligent woman. She was extremely cocky as well, but all of that made it that eventually she started doing genetic tests on living beings. She wanted to create the perfect soldier, and since all her test subjects were human, she really didn't care what happened at all about their, at all. She didn't care. She didn't care what happened to them. She didn't care about their survival. It did not matter. Her first genetic test was a proper success. Her first genetic test that was a proper success was on her own sister, Ashley. Now, the reason that she was so willing to play with her sister's genetics and biology was, simply put, because Ashley is half human, and Vanessa hated it. Their mother had been raped by humans, but she had decided to keep the baby. Vanessa, meanwhile, had never, ever been able to look at her sister without seeing the human tool that had helped to create her. So, she experimented on her sister. In the end, it was a success, and Ashley now had dragon DNA added and weaved into her own. It was something that had taken time for her to fully be okay with, but even if she came to terms with it, she had never forgiven her sister for what she did. And not just the DNA fuckery. Everything that Vanessa has ever done has been something that she had had issues with, without question. Or, at least it certainly seems like that to Ashley, as she has been present for so much that her sister has done, and she's also heard the stories of everything else. Between the pair of them, there is plenty of love lost, and only on Ashley's side. Vanessa, she never truly loved her sister, couldn't get past the whole half-human thing. She even hates how their mother gave them human names, hoping that they might be able to mingle with humans in the future. All throughout her life, only 2 people ever truly loved Vanessa. Even her mother, Cyrene, who will be in a future video, loved her only because of the maternal aspect. She loved her because she was her daughter. That's it. Overall, she quickly grew to hate Vanessa. beyond that token love. The first was Christopher Jenkins. He was a rather pathetic man, but completely human for most of his life. And Vanessa played him. She took the love that he had for her because he believed that it was love when the person was using him. More on that as I do his video. And manipulated him to an extreme degree, to the point where he was willing to be a guinea pig for her to test a genetic change on him. The end result was a half-human, half-dark elf freak of nature, and he believed that because he was given the chance, it meant she loved him. That, of course, was wrong. She saw him as nothing more than a tool. The only other person to love her is a wood elf that she took in, admittedly with the intention to use him at first, along with his sister. Over time, he managed to get into her good graces. Vanessa found herself quickly falling into what she suspects is the mortal feeling of love. However, when Christopher finds the pair in a very intimate position, if you get what I mean, he snaps. All the pent-up anger, frustrations, and rage at how it has seemed as if Vanessa has abandoned him came out. The resulting explosion of emotion and mana resulted in a nearly dead pair of elves. The wood elf, Azari, had deep gashes across his torso, and Vanessa's eye had been completely obliterated. What was left was an empty space that was filled with not more than her mana, and it was leaking. It was also far more potent than it naturally could be, which she wasn't exactly unhappy about. In exchange, though, she would die, and relatively quickly, instead of having decades, perhaps centuries. Instead of having decades, perhaps centuries. She'd have maybe a decade if she's lucky. For all intents and purposes, that could have very well been her death blow. However, it's her sister Ashley who properly kills Vanessa. With dark elves in the world I've created, it takes a special mana to do that. And it's dark elf mana. So, Ashley, being half dark elf, she was the best person to effectively eliminate another dark elf without waiting for them to naturally die. And Ashley didn't want to do it. On one hand, she did, because she realized that her sister was a real piece of work and needed to be eliminated. But at the same time, she really didn't want to. Vanessa's family, after all. Alright, I've rambled on about this bitch for long enough. I'll shut up. You got a little bit of snippets into future videos too. Chris, Azari, and Ashley. And maybe a little bit of Siren. So, that's a nice little treat. I guess. I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much if you stuck around till the end here. And I hope it was at least interesting to listen to. I mean, she's one of my only villain characters. I mean, Chris, yes, he is a villain-ish. And there will be more info about him, specifically why Vanessa thought he was so useful and the like, in his video. But beyond that, I also have Viren from a webcomic I want to start up. He is a villain, but he's not as much of a bitch. He's more, honestly, he's kind of more a sympathetic villain, but not quite that nice, I guess. I don't know. He's in it for his own reasons, but it's because of the fact of he's seeking vengeance. Vanessa, on the other hand, is purely filled with hatred and rage, and she has no patience for that. So she's set out. She has a personal goal. Her villainous anything originated as being her wanting to revive the Dark Elves. She's alone. She's the only Dark Elf on the planet. Full blood. Like a full-blooded Dark Elf. She doesn't count her sister. She sure as shit doesn't count Chris after she managed to fuck with his genetics in that way. And she was the last. She didn't want that. She wanted to revive the others. That's how it started. Eventually, it just turned into a case of she just wants to eliminate all humans on the planet because they're useless, they're evil, they're pick whatever way you want to describe them. That's not pleasant. And Vanessa would likely trump you by giving you a counter that's worse. She hates humans. And I absolutely love her. She's one of my personal favorites that I have. But dear God, I would hate to meet her. She would eliminate me on the spot. Oh, one thing I didn't touch on that I'd like to is Dark Elf mana. I don't know what it is in other depictions of Dark Elves, but for mine, their mana is destruction. So kind of destruction. As a result, yes, they can destroy things a lot easier than other elves. But there's also a control element. And I mean that literally. And a strong enough dark elf can literally control another living being. Whether it's completely mental, physical with a mental awareness, or what's going on. There is a control element. Admittedly, I did that because I just like the idea of it. It's not something that I personally have come across much of. So, I figured I would do that. But, she's a bitch. She will use it on anyone. And it's through that she learns the best way to torture people. She takes you in with a promise of a warm bed or whatever you may need. And uses her mana, gets you to spill your darkest secrets, your deepest fears, and then she turns on you. She turns it all against you. She is I think, a really cool character. But she is not someone I would ever want to meet. Anyway, I've rambled enough, as I said earlier. So, I'm just going to leave it there. Yeah, okay. Anyway, thanks for stopping by if you did. And, well, thanks for stopping by. And thanks for hanging out this long if you did. I greatly appreciate it. Let me know what you think of the character or the style of video. Because this is the third one now. The first was Jaden. The second was Angela. And now Vanessa. And if you like them, I'll keep doing them. And if you don't, just let me know. Beyond that, Toy House, her character page will be linked down below. The image that I finished here will be uploaded to my DeviantArt in the future. I'm still catching that up. And beyond that, I'm not entirely sure what else to say, so I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Stay cool, cats. This is Amber out. See ya.